A bright future starts with a healthy lifestyle. Good nutrition and physical activity are fuel for your child's mind and body.
Attaboy, Pinot.
And the food pyramid will help you find the right balance. Just remember, every color, every day.
Nothing can stop me now.
Eat right.
Here's an apple.
Be active.
Come on, I'll race you home.
Make it balance.
This calls for a celebration.
A healthy lifestyle can lead to great things for your child. Visit mypyramid.gov to learn more.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phalen, a weekly program here on LSN Television, Channel 9, Time Warner, right here in Lancaster, and also our listening friends over at 90.9 FM, WFCO Radio, where we are with you each and every week to talk about things going on within the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office, within our community. And back this week, by popular demand, is Commander Eric Brown, the commander of the Fairfield Hockey Major Crimes Unit, joining us. We were here last week. Do appreciate you having back. You're the commander of the Fairfield Hockey Major Crimes Unit. And real briefly, for the viewers or listeners that may have not tuned in last week, what is the Major Crimes Unit and what's your involvement?
Well, the Major Crimes Unit, again, is a multi-jurisdictional narcotics unit. We investigate complaints from citizens in the community. We are also out there, again, looking at mid to upper level drug traffickers and drug trafficking organizations to try to infiltrate those groups and those individuals.
Do you find it surprising after about 10 years with the Fairfield Hockey Major Crimes Unit that there's still folks out in our community that may not know what that is or anything about that? Or do most people now know what you're doing?
I think, we really have done a good job over the years getting that word out and again, in cooperation with all our law enforcement partners such as yourself and letting people know that we're out there and what we're doing and doing the investigations in the different communities that we cover through Southeast and Central Ohio.
Yeah. So you work, there is a board of directors.
Yes, including yourself.
Myself, Chief Bailey, Chief Taylor, the prosecutor's office. And so we meet periodically to kind of talk about what's going on and get updated.
It's good, those collaboration boards that we have, and to come together and discuss the things, and it gives me an opportunity to share with you as administrators of what we're up against and what we're dealing with in the communities and the current trends and what we need to do to move forward.
Is it tough having 5 or 6 bosses? I tell you, I've never had that before.
Well, I tell you, it's a lot of people to please, and all the communities, that we serve have different issues. And, we find ourselves, behind that 8 ball sometimes and trying to do a lot of things all at once to try to help in the different communities.
Now, you go around to a lot of different groups, whether it's church groups, whether it's civic groups, whether it's private clubs, it's different organizations. If one of our viewers or listeners have an organization or a group, are you available to come out and talk about what's going on?
Absolutely, and we've tried to get out as much as possible into the communities and tried to educate everyone on the current drug trends and the things that are going on in the community. I think it's very important to have that knowledge of what's going on and how this trade, so to speak, actually works. And to have that knowledge, because again, I think that helps people in the community when it comes that time where all of a sudden they are seeing something, they have a better idea of what's going on and calling into your office or our office to try to relay that information.
So you'll come out?
Absolutely.
Give us the number of the Fairfield Hockey Major Crimes Unit.
Our number is 740-653-5224.
Okay.
And again, if they call in, leave a message that they're wanting, a presentation on drug trends, we'd be happy to come out and do that. Again, it's a good presentation, I think, and it gives everybody a better idea of the different drugs, their makeups, their current trends, again, out in the community.
Where do drugs come from that come into our county?
Well, I tell you, Columbus has unfortunately changed somewhat on their role in the drug trade. As you're well aware of, coming from Columbus Police Department for many, many years, one time Columbus was nothing more than a transshipment point, and some of those loads of narcotics would come in. Some of it would be dropped, and the rest of it would go off, into the major cities that we all, think of when drug trade. But many years that shifted, and Columbus now is basically a source city, where those shipments come in and they're dropped, and then they're dispensed or dispersed from that area. And unfortunately, with our proximity to Columbus, we're seeing a high volume of narcotics coming into our communities in central and southeast Ohio.
Mm-hmm. And who are these people that are bringing drugs into Columbus and then into our community?
Well, there's several different fractions. A lot of these drug trafficking organizations are very complex. And they make up of a lot of different people, and actually other countries, such as the heroin trade. We're talking about 95% of the heroin that comes into this country comes in from Afghanistan, and it travels from there to Europe, into Mexico, and then Mexico over the border into the United States. So, we're seeing a lot of issues there with the amount of heroin that's in our country, in our state, here in our local community. So, it's a very complex issue.
Let's talk about some of the different drugs and what part they play, maybe how they're used, what they look like, and those type of things that you're seeing here in Fairfield County.
Well, again, we spoke about this in our last talk, and the heroin issue, the opiate issue, is extremely high priority right now. Because I think what we see with the amount of heroin that's coming into the country, into the communities, and the opiate addiction as a whole, with the prescription medications, and a lot of times that prescription medication addiction will roll over into a heroin addiction.
Because it's not as expensive.
Yeah, not near as expensive, easier to get a hold of, a lot more potent. So, it's a major issue with this opiate problem that we're seeing. Again, with the prescription meds, the heroin problem, again, extremely complex. There's different types of heroin, and, whether it's a powder, whether it's a black tar, and how that's used and how a person takes that into their system. Most of the time we see these individuals using it intravenously. And again, the addiction and the desperation, the physical and psychological on heroin is just more than anybody can truly imagine.
So we have heroin, we have the opiates, which are the prescription medication,
right.
The Oxycontin, Vicodin, those products.
Yes, anything opiate-based.
Yeah, and then methamphetamine.
The methamphetamine, is a...
And that's something they make.
That's true. We could talk for hours on how complex that is. And that particular drug trade has changed quite a bit over the years now too, where we're seeing these labs used to be very elaborate and involved a lot of different apparatus and chemicals, very, very dangerous. Now it's all into what they call a one-pot system. It's all contained in one container, whether it's a 2-liter bottle or a smaller bottle, and it's all right there in one thing. It's not a big elaborate lab anymore. So the methamphetamine has changed.
And that is really some pretty nasty stuff, isn't it?
It is
because
very addictive.
I mean, we see a lot of people in our jail, and probably more noticeable with our female population. And at any time, I mean, recently we've had 72 to 80 females in our jail. And it really seems to have quite a physical effect on people. As far as I see, a lot of the scabs on their face.
Yes.
They seem pretty, they've lost a lot of weight. It just seems to be pretty dramatic, some of the changes we see, where we'll see a prisoner in our jail maybe 24 months ago, and they'll come back in, and their deterioration in their appearance is just like pretty shattering. Sometimes you can see those pictures when they were booked, in 2009 or 10, and then you see a new one. You're going, wow, what has happened? Doesn't look like the same person.
Yeah, those
and all those are meth. That's
physical
poison,
effects. Yeah, it's poison.
What happens when someone's on meth? Why do they have that deterioration in their appearance?
Methamphetamine is a very strong stimulant, and when these individuals start using meth, they can stay up for days on end without sleep. and then they'll go days on end just sleeping. It's such a strong stimulant, but there's so many acidic chemicals in methamphetamine that physical deterioration that you're talking about, Sheriff, it can happen within 6 months, where a person is withdrawn, the scabbing from picking at the skin, and the deterioration as far as the dental hygiene goes.
Right,
the acidic chemicals.
Their teeth will go.
Yeah, it's really sad to see a deterioration like that in those individuals.
Okay, so and then we are probably seeing marijuana or something.
Yeah, marijuana.
That's pretty consistent, isn't it?
Marijuana is kind of a gateway drug at times, unfortunately, and we see a lot of the marijuana. The crack cocaine issue has come back on us again. Crack cocaine is nothing more than a pure form of what we considered cocaine powder many years ago. So the crack cocaine, you'll see that deterioration also, physical appearance. A strong stimulant, very pure form, very, very addictive. So, we've seen that trend come back around too.
It used to be, when I was with the Columbus Narcotics Bureau a number of years now, we would be able to go and you would have identification of a house that maybe was selling drugs, and you would be able to set up surveillance, you'd be able to send informants in, you'd be able to send undercovers in to make buys and those kind of things. But with the cell phones, what we see today, a lot of that's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Where it's not necessarily operating out of your house anymore. They go about the community meeting and different things. How does that work?
Well, the social media that we see today has really made our job much harder in a certain context. Because with the cell phones, we started with pagers originally, cell phones, with the texting, again, Facebook, Twitter, all these different things. These are all social medias that these criminal organizations and these criminal individuals are using on a consistent basis. So now, for your local corner drug dealer that may be a consistent problem in a community, for he or she to have contact with a major source or someone who's an upper level drug trafficker or involved in a drug trafficking organization is normal now. Years ago, as you know, Sheriff, that wasn't like that.
Right.
For the local corner dealer, they didn't have a connection to a major source. So we've taken out a lot of those levels now. So we're seeing people on a local level associating with people in the drug trade that are major players, very dangerous individuals and dangerous organizations.
Where do you see this going in the next 3-5 years in our county?
Well,
you really made some great arrests and things like that.
We have.
Does that once something like that happens, where you have 82 arrests in a short period of time? Does that kick them for a while? Does that say, wow, you see all of a sudden you see the drugs dry up, or what happens?
Well, I'd like to think that we've established a reputation, and we have to a certain extent, because you hear different things go through, these different avenues,
right,
these organizations. And I tell you, honestly, with the job that your office does, Lancaster Police Department, I think our organization in the community here, our involvement, we hear that a lot of people say, hey, don't go to Fairfield County or the city of Lancaster because they're tough. And I like to think that. We're up against a big wall here. We really are. But, Fairfield County and Lancaster is still a great community. It truly is.
It is a safe and secure community. I say that over and over.
It really is.
You can go out in the evenings and
yes,
you really don't feel threatened, unlike some places where, you wouldn't want to get out of your car if you were in some pretty tough neighborhoods.
Yes.
But Lancaster, Fairfield County has really kind of been steadfast. It's still a safe and secure community. It's a great place to raise their family. And, I think as long as we understand that the parents need to do their part, I think it's almost more important today that parents understand this, let their kids know, talk to their kids, and the young people have to understand that this is a road they don't want to go down. This will absolutely ruin their lives. We do the education, doing our dead level best, which you're doing, to put these people in the penitentiary, treatment, and things like Grace Haven Place, which my wife has the ministry, where if girls get out of jail and there's nowhere to go, they can have a safe place to get well.
Yeah, we have a lot of great treatment facilities here in our local area.
Recovery Center.
Recovery Center does a great job with what they're up against. So yeah, there's a lot of great organizations out there that provide help for these individuals that are swirling in this addiction.
Again, before we go off the air, I'd like to get your phone number, and folks, if you're at home or listening, write this down. You'll be glad to go out and talk to groups.
Yes.
If they have any information or suspect any activity, let you folks know so we can kind of put that part of the database, follow up on it, and that helps you in a tremendous way.
It truly does. I'd rather that someone call in with information, let us decipher it, than not call in at all.
Absolutely.
So very, very important. That number is 740-653-5224.
Okay.
And again, they can just follow the prompts when they get into our system and leave that information for us.
And again, if you want to give that information to the local police department or the sheriff's office, we take those calls. I get them every week or so, different people calling in and say, hey, Sheriff, this is what's going on. And we go ahead and we forward that information to Eric, and his detectives do a great job. And appreciate you being with us here.
Thank you.
And I'd like to have you back every few months to kind of give us an update.
That'd be great.
Especially after there's some kind of a major arrest or something like that. We would love to have you back, and I think this dialogue is important.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity.
And again, I appreciate the folks here at Fairfield Christian Academy, all the young people that are involved in the production of this program. It is a very professional production. They take time out of their week and to help get this information out to you, the community. It's very much appreciated. Again, the folks over at Time Warner, Channel 9, LSN, right here in Lancaster, giving us the opportunity to have this program, and folks that I partnershiped with for 10 years at 90.9 FM, WFCO Radio, nice enough to have us on each and every week. We do appreciate it. Well, the clock on the wall says we've got to go. If you're out there driving, buckle up, have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week, and God bless.
Ready to go?
Yeah, but the fire's not out.
Close enough.
Close enough? If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. I mean, the next thing you know, you've torched our whole neighborhood.
Which is why we're not going anywhere?
Exactly. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.